were blowing. I'm sorry. You blew up the birthing pool with your mouth.
Yeah, no joke.
And for context, this pool is like
they're
bigger,
big.
They're bigger than like a dining room table that seats like 8 people. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt lightheaded.
Good job. Hi guys.
Hey, Maddie.
This is so fun. I get to be in the interview chair today.
I know, it's a bit of a change of scenery.
Yeah. So I want to know about your guys' birth story with Poppy because I actually haven't heard the whole story yet. I just know bits and pieces.
Ooh, blast from the past. Okay. And when we were talking about this, it was actually a little bit harder to remember than I thought it was going to be. Unfortunately, I didn't document everything perfectly. I think in the glow of afterbirth, I was like, I'm going to remember every detail forever. But now here we are 15 months postpartum and can't remember every detail, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, we have like the main points for
we
sure.
definitely have a good timeline.
It's just some of the in between.
We'll give you the rundown. So I was due on October 7th, 2023. Trying to remember the years now. They're passing by quick. And Poppy came on her due date, which is super exciting. And the way that I think that managed to happen was I went in for a prenatal massage the day before, the day before I went in for a massage. And I'd been holding off on it because I had heard that could induce you. And I was like, I don't want to induce any earlier. I'd heard your story. I didn't want to have a surprise early baby. Yeah. I wanted to keep her cooking. I just did not feel ready. Yeah. But by the time her due date did come around, I was feeling pretty uncomfortable and wasn't having good sleep, lots of heartburn. It just wasn't a good time. And so I was like, oh, this is what everyone talks about when they say they're just ready to get the baby out.
Yeah, just get it out.
Yeah. So I went in for a massage. It was amazing. I was so glad I did that. And then I came home and had a shower, and I kind of had a weird feeling that it was going to be go time.
But she didn't tell me.
I didn't know for sure. So it's funny because we seem to have this theme where everything to do with babies and stuff always has to coincide with Josh's hockey nights. Okay. So when we found out we were pregnant, he was about to leave for a hockey game. And so we kind of had a split 15 minutes to kind of freak out, and then he had to leave for hockey. Well, we came full circle because the night that Poppy came, he was off at hockey. And so I'd stayed up. I was like, oh, I'm going to stay up for a little bit and just scroll on social media. Yeah. Maybe he'll bring me McDonald's home. Sure enough, he texted on his way back. He said, do you want anything from McDonald's? I said, yeah, absolutely. I thought he was going to be at the McDonald's literally 2 minutes down the road. So I thought he was close by. So I stayed up, anticipating my ice cream and my apple pie.
No, Sarah, you should have gone to bed.
Actually. Well,
it was getting way too late by this point.
Yeah, because it's I feel like it's a 10:15 start, and so we're done by 11:30. So yeah.
And he was at the McDonald's he was at, to clarify, was a good 20 minutes away.
Okay, perfect. Love this.
So it was already past midnight by the time I kind of heard back whether or not I was going to get McDonald's. Anyways, so I was just lying in bed waiting for my McDonald's, and it didn't come. But what did come was a burst of water. And I was lying in bed, and our bed is fairly close to our ensuite bathroom. Yeah. And so I jumped out of bed, and luckily I didn't have a pool on my bed yet. But by the time I was in the bathroom, there it was, all on the floor. And I just stood there in shock, and I was shaking for a good 10 minutes. I was like, it's happening. This is real. And so I texted Josh, where the heck are you? And then I checked by my friends, and he's still.
Well, yeah, she texted me a picture of the little pool on the ground too. And I was freaking out because I was on my way home already, but it was I don't know, probably 15 minutes away.
Okay, so just pause. So you get the text, and there's a pile of water on the floor, and obviously our water's broken. Now this baby's coming. What's going through your head?
I think honestly, it was just I need to get home as soon as possible, pretty much. And
were you freaked out?
No, not really. I think I would say more excited than anything, I guess.
I was freaked out.
But I was racing. I was I was like, had it all planned out in my head. If a cop pulled me over or something, I'd be like, hey, my wife is going into labor. Like, I'm out of here. Yeah, exactly.
It's real.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes away still at that point. So I was just racing home.
Yeah. So this is by 1 o'clock. My water broke around 1 in the morning. And I'd had like maybe 10 minutes of sleep by that point.
Yeah.
So I was freaking out by the time he came in. I had gotten on the toilet and kind of cleaned up a little bit, but I think more came out and Josh came in and I was just like, this is happening. I was in freak out mode. He was in calm man mode, which was very, very necessary because we had wanted to do a home birth.
Yeah.
So this was the plan kind of all, I won't say necessarily all along, but the further I got into my pregnancy, I realized we'd kind of done some research as a couple on what like physiologically happens during labor and just the change of scenery and the stress that can happen to a woman when she's like in transit or, you know, things like that. And so I just really felt strongly that I wanted to do a home birth. And so leading up to this, we'll take a pause in the labor story. Leading up to this, we had contacted our midwives. We'd had midwives take care of us. And we had also, we'd been working with a doula. And so we had our good little birth team and they were amazing. We're so blessed to have such an awesome group of ladies behind us because that made me feel a lot more confident to do the home birth. I had a lot of pushback, which I thought that was really interesting. I don't know what your thoughts were like when we were going through that process.
Yeah, it was really interesting to hear, especially other moms be like, do you really want to do that? Although I will say, because you asked me how I felt on the way, I felt excited then, but I think it was like by the time that I got home and I knew what was happening in my head, I never said this to Sarah, but I was like, are we sure about like doing this at home? Like I felt super out of my depth as soon as like the contractions started, I guess. Like I was like,
how do you help?
Yeah.
Kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Like just... Yeah, it was almost as if like all of the training we had kind of just like rushed away in that instant and it obviously came back later. But at that moment, I was like, I want help.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's why we decided to work with the doula the first time around too, is because it was like, I feel like in the heat of the moment, neither of us are going to feel comfortable with like coaching each other through it. And so that was really helpful. So yeah, by the time my contractions started, they started pretty quickly. So my water broke at 1 and then full-on contractions were starting by 1:30 and very quickly. It's side note, really, this is just a funny thing I like to add. I'd cut my hair pretty short before.
I remember.
Before I went into labor, thinking, oh, whatever, I'll just be able to like braid it back or whatever in between contractions and it'll be out of my face. My contractions were like right out of the gate, 2 minutes apart. And I'm not a fast braider. I was going to do like a French braid in the back. I'm not a fast braider. People are probably going to think like you should be able to braid in 2 minutes.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't braid that fast.
I'm not a fast braider. So I was never able to braid my hair because I was expecting a bit of a lull between contractions. But 2 minutes is nothing. And so right out of the gate, I was like, what if I have this baby in like 2 hours? Yeah. And that totally freaked me out because everyone said, it's going to be like a long process, sit down for the long haul, you know, utilize all these techniques to help manage your pain and things like that. I was like, what if I have this baby right away? I'm not mentally prepared for that. But what I was grateful for was I decided to get into the shower because I'd heard that water could help and just, you know, things like that. So pretty quickly I ended up using the shower to help relax my back and stuff because I was having back labor pretty early on. Yeah. And... so it was around that time that we decided to call our doula and say like, contractions are really quick. What's going on here?
So originally I called her and she was like, yeah, I don't really think so. Are you sure? Like, you know, I bet she, and rightly so, she probably thought like, oh, they haven't really gone through it before. So maybe they don't know what they're looking for. Yeah. But I was quickly telling her like, no, they're really close together. Like we've been timing them. So she's like, okay, I'm coming over. Actually, she heard some of Sarah's contractions.
She wanted to hear, she wanted to hear how I was handling it. Yeah. Because a lot of the prep that I done was to make sure that you're not using like high registers. So you're not like, that really like intense fear sound. Yeah. You want to make sure that your body is relaxed, your jaw is relaxed, you're breathing nice and low. And that lowness, the low register can help relax your pelvic floor. So I was trying to do that, but it was still really intense. And I was almost also feeling the need to push already. I was already kind of feeling pushing sensations. And so with that, after our doula heard me during a contraction, she was like, okay, what else is going on? And so she also had Josh check, I don't know if it was during this phone call or a couple minutes later.
Yeah,
Do you
it was
remember?
during that phone call. Yeah.
She had Josh check. I don't know if anybody else knows this. Maybe this is TMI, but nothing's TMI here. Apparently, there's a purple line that goes up like your butt crack when you're in like
Okay.
active labor.
Yeah.
And I actually still to this day don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
I'll have to do some more research. But apparently, if that line shows up, it means that like things are progressing quickly. And so when she had Josh check and he said yes, then she's like, okay, maybe call the midwives and we'll get things going.
Yeah.
So
Wild. And what time was this at?
this I don't think this is past 2.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Wow.
Half an hour. we
That
were
progressed fast then, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, within an I think 40 minutes, our doula was home with us, and we had decided to try to integrate a water birth into this. And so there had been some communication with bringing a birthing pool, like a blow up birthing pool and things like that.
Yeah.
And we had to make sure that there was like water lines that we could hook up and stuff. But there must have been some miscommunication. We've been trying to coordinate so many things. I think something was missed because when our doula came in, she had the birthing pool ready. She says, okay, where's the pump? And we didn't have a pump.
Oh no.
yeah.
So Josh, take it away. What did you do?
Man, that was nuts. So, well, 2 things happened with that too. So we didn't have the pump for it. So I was just like using my breath to do it, like it was a balloon. And
You were
so-
blowing. I'm sorry. You blew up the birthing pool with your mouth.
Yeah, no joke.
And for context, this pool is like
they're
bigger.
big.
They're bigger than
Yeah.
like a dining room table that seats like 8 people. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt lightheaded.
Good
to say the
job,
least.
Josh.
all I could think during that was like, if my husband passes out in the middle of my contractions, somebody's going to die.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then on top of that, I had like thought a little bit about how I'm gonna fill it up, and like I don't know, thought about bringing in a hose from outside or something. But
So
that
you
would
thought about the
obviously
water,
people-
but you didn't think about how to actually blow up the pool.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was under there like freaking Mario the plumber, like unhooking the hot water line from our tap, and then I had like some contraption to like get it into a hose into the birthing pool, and so filled it up with super hot water, and then had to switch to the other side. So I was under there again for a couple minutes, and then
So it's hard to
Got it
regulate the
cool.
temperature of the pool because
Right.
you're trying to switch from hot to cold.
yeah,
And so that was itself an issue because
you couldn't get in. Right
I couldn't
away.
get in as soon as the pool was filled. We had to wait for it to cool down a little bit. And so I'm trying to labor, and our doula's coaching me through some positions. I was laboring on the next to the bed. I think I was just like resting my hands on the bed and off to the side, standing up. But yeah, by the time our midwives came and I was able to get into the pool, that was definitely a reprieve. It was really nice to just be able to like relax. But that was a really interesting time.
So were you stressed? You're like, is he blowing up the pool? Like what?
I could hear him.
Actually, yeah.
I could hear him blowing up the pool. So I was really
Okay,
stressed.
how long did the pool blowing up take?
I don't know. It was a while though. Like I'd guess like, I don't know, 15 minutes at least.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
fast.
just doing it by.
That's fast though, I think.
I think, yeah, some good lungs on you.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing.
Oh boy, yeah. But so once we were in the pool, moms will know. I was a little bit concerned about pooping in the pool, just a little bit. But by the time you're in there,
By the time you're in there, I feel like at
there's
this
bigger
point,
things.
everything
No, you
is just
didn't
out the
care.
there's
window.
bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
But I will say it was hilarious hearing like the doula and midwife, like if they saw anything, they're like, oh. And go.
What are you talking about?
I mean, no, she was like,
She didn't
Bro,
poop
she
at all.
Totally good. Totally good. We're here to be smashed oranges for real here. But the pool was nice because I was able to change positions a lot.
Yeah.
So one that was really, really effective for us, Josh was behind me and was he would wrap his arms underneath my arms and just like help me support back.
Yeah.
And that was really good because I found that for a long time I was on my hands and knees and bearing down quite a lot, and I'm using tons of energy. And so that's when my doula, I think my midwives also suggested that I switch positions because I was just like pushing so hard that I was wearing myself out.
Yeah.
And so they said, why don't you go back into more of a restful position where Josh can kind of help you? and that was good. It was also around this time because we were in the pool for probably like an hour and a half at this point, and I was running out of energy. So our doula had a little like massage roller thing that Josh would use on my back, which is great for the back pain, the labor pain, as well as some snacks. So the only thing I could really get down was a honey stick, but even that, right, that's just enough calories that just help boost you up. And so even just like little things like that were really effective for just managing. But by the time we'd been in the pool long enough, things weren't quite progressing as fast as we thought that they could be at this point. I had opted out for cervical checks. I decided not to do that because I didn't want to be in the process. My biggest thing going into labor was I didn't want to be in labor for like 12 hours and find that I'm only, a certain amount.
Not far along
enough, dilated. And so what I decided beforehand was if labor went long enough, I went by like a time period rather than like cervical period, then that's when we would kind of adjust maybe our decision, like if I needed to go to the hospital or what have you. But by this point, I think I remember looking up and seeing at the clock, it was like 5 a.m. And that's when we decided to shift away from the pool. So I got helped out and we decided to go to the toilet. My doula said, okay, let's have you in a seated position. So naturally, when you sit on the toilet, our bodies are trained because we sit on the toilets to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Our bodies are trained to relax our pelvic floor to help release. Right. Yep. And so she said, let's go back to the toilet and we'll have you in like a staggered stance. And so this is for all moms, if you plan to labor, especially at home, have like a little like squatty potty, like little footstools, because I had bought 2 separate footstools so that I could put them in like whatever configuration I wanted. And so having one off to the side and then my other foot on the floor was really helpful. But this is definitely when I remember labor peaking for me. Was this is kind of when I was starting to get like a lot more, my shoulders were up by my ears and a lot more agitated. And our doula actually ended up taking some videos for us during labor. And this is definitely where I can hear in my like vocal cords getting a lot tighter and tenser. But yeah, that like shift of position definitely helped move things along because it wasn't very long before she said, okay, I think we can move off of this, which was a huge relief to me. Was then I decided to labor on the bed. So lots of changing positions here, but really effective. But this is when they gave me the green light. They're like, okay, let's do something a little more active pushing now. And so this is where Josh kind of took a little bit more of a backseat. He was super hands-on. Maybe we'll ask you a couple more questions on what that looked like for you. But he was super hands-on during 99% of the labor. By the time I was active pushing, I actually ended up on my back, which I didn't expect to be. I'd kind of always heard that that's like the least effective position for just your pelvic opening. But yeah, I ended up on my back and my doula had what's called a rebozo. So it's a very long piece of, it's basically a huge scarf. That she ended up wrapping behind her, and then I was holding on to the ends of it. Okay. So I'm on my back, my legs are spread, and I'm pulling on this rebozo, and she's pulling away from me that way. And just to give me a bit of pressure to push against and to focus where my breathing is going. And that was super, super effective because then doula and midwife team were all coaching me with the breathing and okay, stop, let's ease off on this, or like this is how long you need to breathe and push for. That was awesome because I think this is where I tapped a bit into my fitness background. Was I was literally imagining trying to do like really heavy deadlift or something, right? Where it's like concerted effort for a short amount of time and then you relax. And then and that was really, really helpful for me. And yeah, it honestly wasn't super long pushing. And then Poppy was born at, I think it was almost 8:15 in the morning. So not a bad labor for my first time from 1 a.m. to 8.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
It was a pretty good labor. And I was just on cloud 9 afterwards. Like it was just amazing. I give myself so much props for deciding to do that. And deciding my first time, like not knowing what to expect, deciding to do that. With what my intuition was telling me that I wanted to do. And I'm very blessed that that's what worked out as well. Because I know a lot of people want to do that, but situations are different. So, but what was your experience as being somebody who's like just kind of watching.
Like a support person.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely overwhelming to start with. Like I said, just because it's one thing to learn about it, just like everything else, right? It's one thing to learn about it, but then to have to put it into practice and to see that your wife is going through all of that too. Like I can only imagine like what that would have felt like as somebody who saw it. So it was overwhelming at first, but I was so glad that we had the doula for one and then the midwives, because actually like as soon as the doula came, it felt like a boost of morale. And it's like, okay, somebody else can come in and kind of show me what to do better. And then like Sarah mentioned, once she got to the end, another midwife came in as backup. And I felt like at that point for me, I was like at the end of my rope for it. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this to be over, because it was stressful seeing your partner in that situation too. And so another midwife came in as backup, and it was super cool because she came in with a lot of calm energy as well, and just like jumped right in. Yeah, fresh energy. And, you know, it must have been like 40 minutes or so, or maybe an hour. I don't know exactly that she ended up being there at the end. But it was just such a refresher to have somebody else there. And then there's video of it actually when Poppy, you know, came out. I was just like extremely overjoyed. Like I was crying, like basically bawling immediately, because I think because of that, it was just like everything was being released. All the emotions from that night were just coming out, and obviously being super happy to have Poppy here too. So it was incredible.
It was like a sigh of relief.
Yeah, 100%. And then just seeing Sarah hold Poppy was amazing too.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll ever see that video, right?
No, that's not seeing the light of day.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't want them to see bawling Josh for like
for our eyes only.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely very special watching Josh be so active in it, because that was one thing that when we met with our doula pre-birth, like during our birthing plan sessions, was a priority test. Was we wanted him to be an active participant. Especially because he'd been so active during the whole like pregnancy, just really supportive. And so, he was nothing but amazing. And afterwards was super hands-on and continues.
Dude, I will say though, like as soon as Poppy was born, like you said, you I don't know, you had like a rush of energy, right?
Yeah. Like all week, I just felt like I could do anything.
For me, I felt like doom and gloom right away of like, because I was so tired, I was like, how the heck am I supposed to continue like work with like this newborn now?
Did you take any time off work?
I did, yeah. I got a really good chunk of time off work actually. It was super nice, but I think just being overwhelmed with all of that and realizing how much our lives were changing kind of like weighed on me after not having slept all that time.
Interesting. So do you feel like, at least in my experience, like when I found out I was pregnant, I kind of like my life progressively shifted, and so that when the baby came, I didn't really feel like it was like such a like a smack in the face, like, oh my gosh, my life's different, because I had already like surrendered so much of my life up until that point. But do you find like for you, like you are like holding this brand new little baby, and is that kind of when it like clicked for you that like
100%.
Oh my gosh, this is a huge responsibility? Totally,
yeah. And I'm one of those people too that, you know, I don't really grasp like the magnitude of something. I kind of just like jump into it and then deal with the consequences. And I think like that was very much the case with this. Like like you said, it was like after Poppy was born, it all like hit me just how much it was going to change. But I like that. That's a good point. Like, you know, maybe during the pregnancy you kind of can get a sense that your life is changing. But for me, I was just like, oh, this is awesome. I get a baby at the end of the day.
Yeah. I feel like that's got to be more of a common experience for the male counterparts.
That's why I asked.
Because it's, it's not like your physical body that's changing. You're not dealing with the magnitude of, all the other facets of your life changing as much. Because especially with like, even with that time off of work and stuff, you were still going to be going back to work, and your day-to-day would still pretty much look the same. And even, you know, you would go back to hockey and stuff. And while you were super willing to like not go, he would even ask me like, are you sure you want me to stay? But, you know, I remember your like early postpartum just being like,
literally like, days after, people were astonished that I was there. They're like, what are you doing here? And I was like a little bit sheepish about it. I was like, she said like it was okay. Like she's.
Well, I just figured like if I'm going to be at home and baby's sleeping or if I'm nursing, like he's not going to be doing anything during that 2-hour window or whatever, 3-hour window. So I might as well just, he needs to get out of the house. And so that was, but that's a common thing for our partners is to manage that communication and be like, listen, even though I'm quote unquote allowing you to go out, it's still like a big impact of that whole like shift dynamic and stuff. So
I'm curious, just to backtrack. You're holding Poppy for the first time. So you realize like this is a big transition, but like what are those first few things that are like coming to your mind that's like, oh, this is changing now. Oh, this is changing now. Oh, this might be different. Like what are those like actual physical things that you started realizing like, oh, this is going to be different?
I think sleep was like the first one.
Because we had none.
Yeah, because we had none, right? Because we had woken up pretty early, I think the day of, and then obviously didn't get to sleep till I don't even know when it was. Must have been like 10 or 11 that we were able to finally get a nap in the morning. But I think that was one. I was like, and then on top of that, thinking all of the care and attention that a newborn requires as well. And I guess just how much time goes into that, I was super oblivious to as well. I've said it before to Sarah a lot. I've seen a lot of parents in my life and, things like them going to bed early or things like them saying they don't have enough time. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's like 6 or 7 hours after, a work day's done that you can do stuff. And then, to have a newborn and realize that, I can understand why they say you have no time because you're literally devoting all of your resources to that child. So I think that was the biggest one for sure.
What was your favorite experience from the labor and delivery?
I think seeing, especially because you decided to do a natural birth, seeing the human capability to rise to that really astonished me because, again, we had heard from a lot of other people, things like, I would gladly take an epidural. I prefer not to do natural. And that, like Sarah said, that's totally fine. Everyone can do their own thing. But I guess it didn't really register why that might be until I saw it in action. And then I think we've talked about this too, just seeing it come in degrees. And obviously it sucks, but seeing it ramp up rather than be dumped on you all at once.
You're not delivering right away.
Right. Yeah, so I would say that, just seeing you especially rise to that and being a part of that too, because going back to what you talked about when she mentioned that our doula had me be an integral part, which she was talking about how a bond deepens as well, and that you release more of those chemicals too that the wife needs for delivering the baby. So I don't know, I just really felt that. And a little fun story with that too actually was, Sarah talked about being in that position in the pool of like me holding her up. Well, my arms got super tired because I was half squatting. So at one point I was like, Sarah, like, do you mind if I like put you down for a second? I'm like, my arms are dying here. And she just like leans back and she's like, yeah, take a load off. And everyone around us heard it. And we all just like burst out laughing because she was dead serious, like concerned about me, like conserving energy. She's like, yeah, take a load off. We're like, okay.
Probably my most angelic moment on earth.
Yeah, totally.
In the middle of birthing his child, and it's like, yeah, honey, you can take a break.
Totally.
Just relax.
Because that was the other thing too, is, along with what your body goes through, we'd heard lots of funny stories about just like wives like cussing out their husbands or partners.
I was very worried about that.
Yeah, because I could totally see that, but I don't think anything close. I don't think you were anything close to.
I don't think I ever swore
like
once.
Annoyed or anything. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I didn't concert any negative energy towards you at all. I don't think I had any negative energy, which was surprising to me because I was definitely concerned as well. I was like, I thought I was going to be like the angry mom in labor. But I think just like all the mental prep that I did, because I'd watched a lot of videos of other women doing like these really peaceful, natural like water births and stuff, and really tried to like manifest it basically that is what I wanted the experience to feel like, was I just wanted to be able to like kind of release. And so I think just all the practice of like focusing on like a deep breath and like trying to relax, I think just all that energy there was good. It redirected it. So yeah, definitely a very connecting experience for the two of us because we definitely relied on each other. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that is a perfect segue to my next question, which is how and if did the way you view each other shift after childbirth?
Oh. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, let Josh go
Sure.
first.
Yeah. I think the biggest one for me was just seeing Sarah almost immediately. I don't know, and maybe you can speak to this with yours, but seeing that bond created with Poppy instantly and seeing her shift towards that, because for context there, like she had expressed during her pregnancy that was one of her, I guess, like worries, was that she might not have like that, I guess, like motherly instinct right away. And so just seeing that really blew me away, and I guess makes sense, you know, like you grew little Poppy and then, you know, had to go through all that to bring her to the earth. And so I think that was really cool for me to see her just step right into that.
What's funny about that is I don't remember that at all. I think that memory is triggered by a video that we have of me just like holding Poppy. I think I'm receiving some instruction from the midwives, and I'm kind of just like stroking Poppy's head. And I think more so than an instant connection was an instant like realization that this was like a little person. And so it wasn't even that it was connected by, this maybe sounds a little harsh, but like not connected by love, but connected by experience. Was that I'd birthed a child. It was like an actual little person that now I was going to take care of and I was going to get to know. And even like when we named her, it took actually a while. It took like several weeks for me to get familiar with calling this little person Poppy.
Same, yeah. It almost sounded foreign for
we
a little
both
bit,
felt like weird. We're like, should we change Poppy's name? Like, is this wrong? Because it felt like a little weird. But I think it was just, for me, it was just the gravity of the situation of realizing like I'm somebody's mom now, you know? And so I think that was the biggest thing for me, is just realizing, and for his experience as well, like I think watching him become a dad all of a sudden, like seeing those videos back of him watching Poppy birthed and holding her and you know, all that like was just so the gravity of the situation was just amazing. And you could tell that he'd been like waiting he's just like such a natural father. He's just such a soft, genuine person. When he was holding that little baby, it's just really sweet you could just see like he's like, I don't really know what to do, but I'm really excited.
Actually, seeing some of the photos and videos back, I'm like, I probably wasn't holding her.
Both of us were like, hey.
Yeah.
A little awkward. Even held babies before. We never held a newborn, you know, like brand new.
Oh, and can I add to a little side note for like my experience with it? I didn't know how weird babies look when they're born as well. Nobody prepped me for that. Like we watched The Business of Birth, I think was a good one that we had seen like a lot of, I guess, like birth in action for that, as well as just some other generic like home birth videos on YouTube. Yeah. But I truly didn't realize that, because like she came out and her head was like oblong still for a little bit, and she like came out a little bit more like blue purple like tinge too, and I was like, what the heck,
alien
like,
baby.
Yeah, it literally looks like an alien baby. So that was super interesting. I guess just to witness that part of it too.
I see, again, I don't remember that, but I remember thinking that she was like, oh, she's like a fairly normal looking baby. But then again, looking back at photos, I feel like she still looks like a newborn baby. They're a little bit funny looking.
Yeah.
And it was funny too to hear like the midwives and doula like count the toes. They're like, yep, 10 fingers, 10 toes. I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Or I think you said that. I
thought about it. I remember going back and checking again that she had all 10
Oh, really?
fingers.
I didn't even think about any of this.
Well, I don't know why it was so important, but like I couldn't for a second remember that like 10 was the number we were looking for.
Like, is it right? Is it supposed to be 12?
Yeah. That's funny. So I remember like looking at her hands and being like, okay, they look normal. So yeah, so funny. What an experience.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. I will say too, I loved that we were able to do it here too, because we had just moved in, you know, in that year, I guess the beginning of that year, but because Sarah was pregnant at the time and she was dealing with like all the new house smells, and everything like that. I feel like for her especially too, it didn't quite feel like home yet. But I think going through that experience really for me as well was like, oh yeah, this is truly home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It definitely was a bit of like a christening.
Literally, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
One way to do it.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'll never look at the shower the same or the floor.
That's a good point actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was definitely a really rough pregnancy being in a new home, which was sad for me because I felt like that was going to be like the time to make it our home. And especially when we decided on the home birth, I was like, I want this to all be like the nesting phase.
Yeah.
Didn't hit until like the very end when I kind of was feeling like, I don't know, more mentally prepared for a baby, I think. But yeah, it just, once we had Poppy, it definitely felt like, okay, this is like where our family is going to grow. And it's definitely continued to feel that way. So yeah, lots of cool memories associated with our space. I just am really glad I didn't have to drive anywhere during contractions. That's all I'm going to say on that. That was super great. But yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm excited. We've decided at some point you and Omari get to take a Dad's Takeover podcast.
Sweet. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's cool to relive it because like Sarah said, there's some things that we forgot and it brings back some good memories too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and follow us. It just helps us continue to build our platform and keep you up to date with fresh content every week. And yeah.
Thanks, guys. So much love. Bye.